on two videos before this video, that is in the previous two episodes, I talked about electrolysis, right? Now, and in this video we're going to be talking about a another one that also takes up from there. So, and then electrolysis is also based on this, and this is known as redox or oxidation and reduction. So today we are going to talk about oxidation, what oxidation is, what reduction is, and how they are defined. And we are going to talk about an interlink between oxidation and reduction and electrolysis. So now, redox reactions, they are reactions that involve oxidation and reduction, right? So an oxidation simply means the process by which you are adding oxygen to something, and reduction simply means the process whereby you are adding hydrogen to something. But there are different ways of defining this oxidation and reduction. The first way is that we can define oxidation and reduction. We can define oxidation as the addition of oxygen. So, and then we can also define reduction as the removal of oxygen. That's when we are defining in terms of oxygen. Next, we can also define in terms of hydrogen. We can define oxidation as the removal of hydrogen and define reduction as the addition of hydrogen. That's in terms of hydrogen. Then next, when we're talking about general elements in general, we can define oxidation as the addition of an electronegative element, or we can define reduction as the addition of an electropositive element. That's in terms of the elements. Next, we can also define oxidation and reduction in terms of the change in oxidation number. So, and then when we talk about change in oxidation number, we can define oxidation as the increase in oxidation number, and then we can define reduction as a decrease in oxidation number. Then next, we can also define oxidation and reduction in terms of what the electrons, whether electrons are accepted or lost. Next, if we're talking about electron acception or rejection, we can define oxidation as the loss of electron, and then we can define reduction as the gain in electron. So, and these are some of the ways we can define and explain and understand what oxidation and reduction is. But in simple terms and in general terms, you can simply define oxidation as in terms of oxidation number. That is a very general way, and it covers most examples of oxidation. In general, you can say oxidation is basically the increase in oxidation number, and reduction is a decrease in oxidation number. Now, the reason why I said this is because in most reactions you don't only have oxygen reacting. So for example, you can have a reaction without oxygen there, and in such a reaction as this, you cannot define oxidation in terms of oxygen. So what would you use? Instead of that, you can use oxidation number, and that oxidation number is a very, very important, very, very useful way of seeing oxidation and reduction reactions and looking at them in general. So, and then when we talk about oxidation and reductions, they are applied in many different reactions. For example, whenever we have in an electrolytic cell, which I was trying to explain earlier, in that electrolytic cell we have what is known as reduction and oxidation. For example, in your cathode, reduction occurs at the cathode, which means that in your cathode you have a gain of electron. So that's your cathode is where your electrons go to. So, and then your anode is where your electrons leave. So, and that is simply in line with the basic electronic configuration of that electrolytic cell, because the electrons move from the anode to cathode. So whenever you receive electrons, you have undergone what is known as reduction. So, and then the anode that is losing the electrons is in that anode we have oxidation. So in the cathode we have reduction, anode we have oxidation. Now this electrolysis and oxidation and reduction, we have a lot of overlap between them. You can apply oxidation and reduction in looking for in balancing equations. When you use a redox method, you can apply oxidation and reduction in finding the charges and the on radicals whenever you don't know it. So, and then this oxidation and reduction, it's applied in various parts of chemistry. So to recap, we talked about oxidation and reduction and different ways of defining oxidation and reduction. So I said oxidation and reduction, they occur in electrochemical cells. So thank you for watching.